What's up people, today I'm gonna rank every boss from Dark Souls 1. You can watch me play the full game on my channel, and let's just begin. Well, we all knew this was coming. No sane person goes to the Tomb of the Giants before getting the Lord Vessel, and by the time you get that, Pinwheel does almost no damage and dies in like 5 hits. And on top of that, his attacks are just super easy to evade. And you can always tell which one's the real one, because you're just gonna still be locked onto him. Asylum Demon is the hardest boss in the game if you're stupid like me and don't see the door in the corner of the room, and then proceed to not touch the game for 5 years. But if you don't give up after 2 tries and get your actual weapon, the boss is a piece of cake, especially since you get the plunge attack damage. Its attacks are very slow and easy to dodge. I didn't even get hit once, and its health isn't that great either. Stray Demon is an Asylum Demon reskin and should have been significantly harder, but the problem is it did the same attack around 10 times in a row that was very easy to dodge, and I could just hit it from the back with no real threat. But its health is fairly significant and the damage is pretty high, so I probably just got lucky. Priscilla gave me some PTSD at first, but she turned out to not be so bad at all. She can turn invisible and does a fair bit of damage, especially with her high bleed buildup, but it's fairly easy to find her, and when you do, she becomes very easy to dodge, and her health is moderate but not that high. But I feel like her sister will be a bit higher once we get to Dark Souls 3. Moonlight Butter. Its attacks are fairly easy to dodge, but it's also a very long fight if your weapon isn't upgraded, so it's very easy to mess up, but with the butterfly dealing a fairly low amount of damage, it isn't too big of a hurdle. If you actually throw your firebombs while it's flying instead of while it's perched, then you might have a better time than I did. The hardest part about this fight is actually staying awake. Capra Demon has a big weakness: shields. If you have a shield, the dogs are easy to deal with, and so is the demon itself, but I get that not everyone wants to use shields. Its health and damage are both in the mid-range for the early game, so just avoid the jump attacks and make sure you don't deer. Forest Demon. Now, a lot of you will be surprised that he is above Capra Demon, and the reason for that is, you'll most likely be at a very low level, and you can't upgrade your weapons until you beat him, unless you spawn with a Master Key and take the super long back road. Anyways, I swear this guy has an aimbot and his hitboxes are insane. His arena is very awkward and narrow, making his attacks very hard to dodge, and they do a little explosion too. So you'll probably get hit a lot, but his damage isn't anything crazy, so you'll be fine. And I should also mention that I do not do the plunge attack on him, because I feel like that's cheap, but it's fine if other people do it. Ceaseless Discharge is what they call me when I spend the night with your mom. This boss is very easy beside his fire breath attack, which is kind of bullshit. But if you stay close to him, he doesn't do it a lot, so you just have to dodge his hand and then hit it for free damage. He does do a lot of damage if he does hit you, but his attacks are very easy to dodge, and his health is decently high. If you die against him, he'll spawn in a different area from your first fight with him, and he'll be more likely to do his fire breath attack. So if you die against him, he actually becomes harder, so he's easier if you first try him, which is strange. Sif, our beloved Great Grey Wolf, is pretty easy if you just stay under him. His spin and charge attacks can catch you off guard, and he's pretty aggressive overall, but other than that, he's pretty easy to dodge, and his damage is minimal. I mostly used stab attacks while fighting him, so around half my hits missed because of the shitty camera, and Sif is hard to kill in a different sense than most bosses since, well, you know. Coming in hot is the Demon Fire Sage, which is yet another Asylum Demon reskin, but this time it's in an awkward arena, and the explosive attack is actually dangerous this time. His Lumberjack attack can easily catch you off guard and does a lot of damage, but overall he's fairly easy to punish, but his health is also very high. Coming in hotter is Centipede Demon, which is honestly a fairly easy boss, made hard because of his arena and the camera. You either have all of your Estus and fight on a tiny island surrounded by lava, or use up 2 Estus and cross the lava to get to a bigger island. And he has some dangerous attacks like his 360 no-scope and the fireball jump, and sometimes he spams his stomps, which can be annoying. His damage is decent, but it adds up fast since he's hard to completely avoid. Coming in hottest is Gwendolyn. This fucking piece of shit. You run for 5 minutes only to get one shot by their fucking arrow attack. And it's not like their attacks are hard to dodge, but you can mess up once and that's the end of your attempt because it does insane damage. And if you don't strategize your attack timing, you probably won't even get an attack in before this fucker teleports. So you have to time it with when they do their arrow, and that one does the most damage, so if you fuck up then GG. Stupid fucking boss. Gaping Dragon is only hard if he has the wizard to buff him. Without him, he's absolutely useless, and I only died once. His walk attack stun locks you into getting hit like 6 times if you get caught in it, which can be insta-kill, but it's also easy to avoid if you know to look out for it. And the tail swipe can also be pretty scary. His health is pretty big, especially for early game. But yeah, the hardest part is actually probably just killing the wizard. Iron Golem has a shit ton of health and does a lot of damage, but he's also very easy to dodge, so it's not that big of a deal. But the only thing you really need to look out for is his grab attack, since he'll likely send you plummeting off the arena. Make sure you're holding the sword with both hands and just run through his legs, tickle his balls, and you'll probably be safe. Seath the Bitchless is hard, but also not. He's easy to avoid, but I was playing like a troglodyte when I was fighting him. He does do a lot of damage and has a lot of health, but it's his stupid fucking curse buildup that makes this fight as hard as it is. It builds up fast and in a big area, and I still don't even know how it works. Like, does it build up faster when you move? He's tall, so you don't even see what he's about to do half the time either. Grave Lord Nito, like Capra Demon, is mostly hard because of the enemies in his arena, but unlike Capra Demon, these ones respawn forever, and there's a lot more of them. He also has an attack that can hit you wherever you are in the arena, and it's very hard to time the dodge correctly. His explosion can trap you in a corner, but it also kills a lot of the skeletons, so I kinda like it actually. And also you can only use like half the arena because you don't want to wake up the big skeletons. But his health is pretty high if your sword is not like maxed, at least for the sword I had. But he doesn't do that much damage. Sanctuary Guardian makes the top 10 being the first DLC boss on the list. And holy shit, this dog is aggressive. If his health was a bit better, he would probably be in the like top 6, but his health is just very shit. You kill him in like 10 hits. His damage is pretty mediocre, but he's super fast, has a lot of fast combos, and he also has some ranged like lightning attacks. So you can lose a lot of health quickly, and he can poison you. But yeah, I'd say he's probably the most aggressive boss in the game, beside maybe Manus. I just wish he had more health, man. Quelaag is honestly very fair. She's not too easy and not too hard, but she does make me hard. Oh, I'm sorry. Her lava spit acts as a boundary that you have to play around, which is fun. Her explosion attack does a lot of damage, but it's pretty easy to see when she's doing it. Her fire burst attack is the only one I'd say is bullshit, since there's almost no tell, and it can easily one-shot you. Her sword attacks are very easy to dodge, but they're scary if you're trying to heal after an explosion. Bell Gargoyles. I made the mistake of trying to do this fight with an unupgraded weapon, and it's safe to say I will never do that again. It was a lot easier once I upgraded my sword, but I still died around 2 times I think. Now, I hate fighting gank bosses because they require too much patience, and I am not patient when it comes to boss fights. Their range is insane and their fire spreads everywhere. And when you go to hit one, the other one hits back, and then you run around for another 20 seconds trying to get an opening and repeat the cycle. I somehow have a feeling this boss could get worse though. I don't know, just a hunch. Four Kings is a race against time and yourself. I don't know, I'm just trying to sound philosophical. Anyways, you need to quickly kill the first one before the second one spawns, and if you don't, then that doesn't really matter since they're cocks and just watch you fight the first one. Unless you get too close to them, then they might bite a little. Their attacks don't do a lot of damage if you're close to them, but you'll probably get hit a lot, so the damage adds up quite a bit. Artorias is like Lightning McQueen. He was the greatest warrior 14 years ago, but as the years passed and we got harder bosses, he fell behind on the difficulty curve and isn't really hard anymore. But one thing that will never change is how cool and iconic he is, and we love him. His attacks are fast for this game, but slow compared to later games, but his damage is fairly high and he has decent health. And I mean, one of his moves did inspire the hardest boss of all time, so that's something. Bed of Chaos. We all knew this one was coming close to the top. If the progress didn't save between fights, this would probably be number 1. And he's probably the hardest boss to learn in the game, since he's very RNG, and truly a one-of-a-kind boss. You're not doing a lot of parkour, especially in Dark Souls 1. I can see him being like the hardest if you're trying to do a no death run, but if you're very careful, you'll probably get through it quickly enough. Gwyn, Lord of Cinder, is either really hard if you don't parry him or limit your parries like I did, or he can be super easy if you choose to parry the shit out of him. He's insanely aggressive and you can barely get a heal off without parrying him or choosing a very deliberate moment. I found the best way to deal with him is staying close to him and just walking in circles around him. He does quite a bit of damage and his health isn't anything special, but not being able to heal increases the difficulty a lot, and he closes distances so fast. Manus, Father of the Abyss. Now, on my first playthrough, this guy would have easily been number 1, but by some miracle, I killed him without dying in this playthrough. I think I just got lucky. This guy is insanely aggressive, but he's more generous with the healing openings, and his damage is fairly low, but he has some insane combos and magic attacks that do a lot of damage. Honestly, I just think playing Shadow of the Erdtree made this game way too easy for most of us, especially against the bosses that are like fast, quote unquote. Ornstein and Smo, the last pillar before the game turns to shit until the DLC. And man, were they nice to those people that didn't have to play the second half because they couldn't beat them. I kill Ornstein first since he's faster and I can get more hits on him. He's very glitchy, which can throw you off, but he doesn't do insane damage, so it's fine. And this is a gank boss, so I have the same problems with it as Bell Gargoyles. The second phase with Big Smo is easy enough to dodge, but his damage is absolutely insane, being able to one-shot you with his ground slam if you aren't full health. It's a very long fight, so you better bring your A game. Now's the time to say that all the fights in the top 3 could have been number 1, but the one that gave me the most trouble in this playthrough is Kalameet, the Black Dragon. This was the first real dragon fight in this series, and man did they get it perfectly on their first try. His health and damage are perfectly tuned, so the fight is hard, but not unfair, and his moves are learnable, but still tough to dodge. His magic grab makes you take double damage, but since it's your fault if you get grabbed by it, it just makes the fight more exciting and doesn't feel unfair. His fire attacks do a lot of damage and are pretty hard to dodge, but man does it feel satisfying to dodge them. Alright, that concludes this list. Thank you for watching. If you liked the video, please consider liking and subscribing. And let me know your lists in the comments, or at least the top 5. I will try to get my best Dark Souls 1 bosses list out next week, and after that we move on to Dark Souls 2. Haru out.